Welcome back, everyone. It's week 1, day 1, intro to HTML. We are going to go ahead and introduce some basic HTML properties and rules, explain how they work as well. Okay, so here I am going to the platform and going to the first slide, relevant. Okay. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's the main markup language for all web pages. HTML elements are the basic building blocks of the internet. Here are the objectives. Understand the theoretical components of the web and how they interact. Understand the client-server model. Understand the most important parts of what is displayed on the web browser. Understand the rules of HTML and CSS versus JavaScript. Understand how to incrementally break down building a web page into its fundamental components. Okay, so what is HTML? HTML is a language of the web. It stands for Hyper Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. Its purpose is to let us communicate with the browser the meaning of the content that we wish to place on a web page. It's, let me see here. Get what I was doing. Okay. Its purpose is to let us communicate with the browser the meaning of the content that we wish to place on the web page. To achieve this, HTML defines a number of tags that we can wrap the contents with. Okay. So for every opening tag, there must be a closing tag. Let me give an example of this. Here is an opening div tag. A div stands for a division on a page. Here's an opening tag. Here's a closing tag. Anything that we want this div to contain, the certain division on the page, box or square, we want to go in here. But this opening has a closing as well. So it divides the page by a certain section, and that division that we create must have an opening and a closing. So let's go ahead and describe a bit more of different tags that we'll see. There's headings and paragraphs tags. There's image tags, links, lists, tables, forms. HTML has predefined tags for each of these, which we will cover in the following tabs. HTML tags describe the content they contain. For example, they are paragraph tags for paragraph, anchor tags for links, etc. The browser does not display the HTML tags, but uses the tags to interpret the content of the page. Okay. What this means is that HTML tags describe the content of the content they contain. What this means is if I create a tag here and I call it P, this P tag stands for paragraph. So anything that's regular sized text that would be like in an article, paragraph in an article. There's also let's say, header tags, headings and paragraphs of text. Let's say you want to make a paragraph. And at the title of that paragraph, you have an introduction, a big title or something. Call it welcome to my page. In this paragraph, let's say we want to put some filler text in here. I can say lorem times 5. That puts some pre-built text in there. Lorem ipsum is like a language that just, it doesn't say anything. It just random non-Latin words. And they're here in this paragraph. The reason I did this is so that we can show what these tags do here. So this is what they would look like alone isolated. And let's go ahead and recover this. I'll create an HTML page. There's a boilerplate method for creating an HTML page. You say exclamation mark, press enter. Then you go into the body and you paste this. This is the heart of the creation that we started with. A header and a paragraph. So we just threw it inside the body. So now we'll right click and click format document. That will give a nice view here. Everything's nice and evened out. Now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and view this page. So if I right click and say copy path, paste it in a tab here, then I can see this article that I've created. Welcome to my page, and then I have a bunch of text. So I said lorem times 5. That's because I just wanted 5 times as much text as it would be if I just said lorem once. And as you can see here, these tags take up, well, let me show you. These tags take up 100% of the width of the page. No matter how much I stretch or widen the page, these div tags here stretch all the way across to 100% width of the page. And that's because they're called block elements. So if I right click, click inspect, then I hover over this box with the mouse tool, hover over this header here, click, you'll see there's a default rule there that says display block. Okay, so every block element will stretch up to the full width of the page. They'll take as much height as they need by the font size here, default spacing that they have. So if I click here and I hover over, you'll see the blue area is the space that the text took up, and there's some default yellow spacing here in between for both the header tag and the p tag. Okay, so have that in mind. We're going to continue through the lesson and introduce different types of tags. We have ways to call images. Okay, if I, let's say, add an image tag, if I type in img and then press enter, it'll tell me what it needs to be complete. So the first thing it needs is access to a picture. So I'm going to look up a picture here of a dog and download it. I'm going to download an image of a dog. This is a good dog. Save this image here. Save it in the folder I was working in. Now, if I want to access it, I'll rename it here. I'll say // and it'll show me the dog image. There it is. Okay. So we've loaded an image, and now we need to go ahead and add a text that would appear in case the image didn't load, or if someone's using a screen reader to go through the page and can't see the image of a dog, it will say dog image. I want to disrupt the SRC to show you what it would show. Actually, let me reverse this. See how when it breaks, it shows here dog image as a text. If I add it back, image appears again. Now, there's some other image, not image. There's some other tags I can add here to enhance the page. There's list tags, there's table tags, there's forms. All these different types of tags form together an HTML web page that you would receive when you're browsing the internet. So let's go over these tags and their individual slides here. So, okay. Here is the basis of an HTML page. I went ahead and showed you the way to create a boilerplate by scratch, but now I'm going to break down exactly what each component is here. So an HTML document has an opening and closing, and has a head and it has a body. What goes in the body is the main content that you would see on the page. What goes in the head is a title, and that title would go, it would be this area here on the tab that you see up top. It would have links to the style pages, and since tags are supposed to wrap things, most tags come in pairs. One opening and one closing tag that denote the beginning and end of the content. Tags without a leading forward slash are called opening tags, while tags with leading forward slashes are called closing tags. In the above example, body is an opening tag. It's equivalent to you telling the browser, hey, I'm going to start putting in body content now, here in this body. So most of the tags that you'll include in your HTML document for now are going to be in the body tag. These meta tags are important, but they come into perspective later. But they are some default viewport for different browsers. Some character sets that are universal to all the browsers. So here we have the HTML document. We've added an image tag. And we will introduce now parents and siblings. Okay, here's a more complete HTML page. You see the beginning here has this unique tag, the doc type HTML tag. It goes before the rest of the tags here, and it has no closing tag. It's unique. Right after is this HTML tag, opening and closing. In the HTML, we give this language English. Then we have the head. In the head, we have the title and a character set. In the body, we have a header and paragraph tags, just like I showed. Header, paragraph, image. Okay. So we need to move along here. We can skip this. Instead of having this view where it's just reading a column from top to bottom, what we want to read is something a bit more indented. So each section here, the eye can scan and see at what direction where the closing and head are. This still needs a little bit of work. As you can see, this row is out of order. The way I showed you that you could fix any alignment issues, let's say this is all disrupted here, is you would say format document. You click right click. Okay. Next. Here we have a review of indentation. So every opening tag, its inner body needs to be indented. This body is indented. This H tag and P tag are at a lower level than the body, so they're indented. Anything that is inside the opening and closing tags are the children of those tags. So this body has two children, this H1 and this P tag. This TR tag has 4 rows. So all 4 items here are the children of this TR opening and closing tag. This T head has 1 child, the TR tag. It has grandchildren, but its only direct children are the TR tag. Okay. So let's look at the head tag. Sometimes you'll see it having this information in here, linked to some script tags, links to other files. See here, .css, that's a file type. What we need to know now is that it contains a title Here's where we can put the title at the top of the tab here. And it has some description for, let's say, someone browsing on Google your website. See here, it says meta, description, content, coding, Dojo founder Michael Choi. So this has some description of this business here. You don't need to do anything with that now because we are still just making something from scratch. We're not deploying it to the web. Okay, now let's go over some common body tags. We have an H1 tag, we have paragraph tags. I've showed you those two. By the way, there's 6 different levels of headers. There's 1 through 6. So there's header tags, there's P tags, and there's links, A tags. Okay, there's also tables. We can incorporate all of these into our page. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Give me a second here. Okay, so here we want to take different levels of headers. I'm going to take these here and add them to the top of my page to show you the different header levels, 1 through 6. Copy path. Most important, H2, H3, H5 to the least important there. We have paragraph tags. We have an A tag. It has an href. What that means is it's a link to another page somewhere. Here it is at the bottom. All right, let's move it. If you highlight something, hold the Option key. I believe it's the Alt or Control key on the Mac, on the PC. You can move it. I'm going to move it above this paragraph tag. And here's the link. I moved it up relative to its neighbors, so I moved it up in the order here on the page as well. Okay, so we're going through the different tags. We grabbed a link. This is a P tag with some emphasis around this. So it's going to be a italic and some strong tags surrounding the example that makes it bold. So I'll go ahead and add that here. This is an example here. Okay. Now we have some lists, unordered lists and some ordered lists. So I'll copy here an unordered list, add it. If we take a look now, I refresh the page and there it is. A list here, unordered by dots. if I change the OL, the UL to an OL, I get a 1, 2, 3, 4. OL is for ordered list. Now I have a table. Table TR stands for table row. TH is for table header. Movie, year, rating. Table data, TD, is what table data means for this. So I will copy this table here, add it below the ordered list. Take a look, refresh. Here it is. This is the table. There are 3 different columns: movie, year, rating. In order to give this table a bit more styling, we have to do that, preferably with CSS. CSS is what we'll be going over tomorrow. Okay. Now, we also have some images, as I described. We have videos we can incorporate as well with this video tag. If we had this video file, we could locate it like we did our image and then have it playing here. Here we have a quiz. We'll go over that in a bit, but what I really want to do is go over this here. Forms. We have different types of forms as well. This text input form takes in text. Type text lets you put text in here. Name, first name. Okay, this name is so that when someone puts it in, we can identify this certain input, this certain text input. What is this one for? Oh, it's for the first name. Number. This lets you select between numbers. Passwords. This will make the text into dots. Date. This will let you select from a date. And lastly, we have here this color picker. That's not usually needed. We can also select from a radio select. So if you select one, that means that that's the only one that's selected. Everything else gets deselected. So if I select this normal one, this is no longer selected, this bold one. If you click this checkbox, it will check on and off, and you can have multiple checkboxes and check them all. Here we have a text area. We can enter our text in here. A lot of text. We can also expand it by dragging it. We also have a drop-down menu. Cheese and crackers, pita and hummus, pears. And here a typical form will have divs here. Let's say a label, an input here. So this div has a label, name, and the text you would input there. That's the input. The placeholder holds that text that says your name. Then we have type text, so we know what we're putting in. And name, this is the first name, so we just called it name. Then we have it separated by another div here. We have the label email. We have the input type text, name email, placeholder your email. That's what goes here. Okay, now about divs. Divs divide up the page. So they make it accessible, understandable. Okay. We want to divide the page into different sections. So for example, if I were to divide up this page here, how would I do it? Well, I just minimized it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I could divide this into different sections here. There's the left-hand side. There's the right-hand side. Left here. Right here. Oop. This section here. And then we have this here, this row. And we have this left column and a right column. And here we have this header level section. And we also have this video area. Then we have this text here. Different sections, different squares. Okay. So let's continue to talk about divs. Here we have some form tags. For example, here we have a label for an input, for label for a last name and label for an email. So let's copy this over to our page. Let's paste it below the table here. Here's our form now. First name, the label for this input tag, last name, email. J. Venegas, right? Okay. So input tags need labels. That's what you're seeing there. We want to get some select tags as well. Select between different options. Let's put that in our page. Here it is, male, female. Okay. Let's look at a full registration form. Let's delete everything in here. So I want to find from the body tag here. to here. In here, I'll paste, refresh. Here's the form. First name, last name, email. So we can create something out of this. Registration form here. We'll be creating this document. Registration form, first name, this text area, last name, identity, short blurb here. That's a core assignment. Here we have a method to validate our code. So if we go here, click validate by direct input, we can copy our HTML. So I'll say Control A or Command A, depending on if you're a Mac or PC. Paste, click check. They're green. It's because there's no errors. If there were errors, it'd be red. All right. So we have examples of bad code versus good code. Bad code overuses the class naming convention rather than what this here does, which is find the tag relevant to whatever we're dealing with. So there's a whole list of tags. It's best to get familiar with all of them. I have a poster of them, so if I walk in my room, I could see all the tags, get reminded of the ones I may not commonly use. But here's an article tag. Instead of naming this div class article. We haven't introduced class and IDs yet, but here's a naming convention for this div as well. Another example of bad code is using too many BR tags. When you could use some header tags and P tags with some default padding in it. So if I paste it in, take a look here, refresh, if I inspect, I can see here there's some default padding. There's this large div here, div. Don't do that. Don't capitalize it. Look at this here. Bad code here has an ID, an SRC, and an alt. The alt is just the name of the file. We want to give a good description here. For example, look at this one below. My first website's logo has a large description. We're going to be describing the difference between block and inline elements. For now, what we need to know is that there's certain elements that take up the whole entire width of the page and divide that page into that section. So for example, if I inspect here, do you see how this H1 divides the whole page in two? There's an upper half and lower half now. Whereas when I highlight over this button here, I'm only highlighting the area that that word or box takes up. That's the difference between an inline element and a block element. A block element will appear as a block on the page. And so we have to respect those elements and how they will work with each other. Okay, so if I add another P tag, for example, it's not going to be on the same line. Two block elements stacked on top of each other. If I made them span tags, say span times 2, and I say lorem times 5, times 3. Why don't I just copy it here? Okay. So here we have a row, and here we see these two items are stacked up next to each other. That blue area that they take up is only the length of their content. That's because these are inline, and this p tag is a block. It's going to have default padding, and it's going to be dividing the page in its width. Okay, A tags are inline. Image tags are inline. So you can put inline elements inside block elements, but you cannot put block elements inside inline. Later on, we'll be working on this page. Okay. So that ends this morning's lecture. Later on, we'll be going over more HTML. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and get the breakout room started, and I'll talk to you guys later.